Today I'll be reading the Juice Box Bully for you guys. As Pete stood in front of his new class, Mr. Peltzer announced, "Let's welcome Pete to our team. Pete, you will be sitting behind Ralph." Settling into his seat, Pete pulled his hat down over his head so that only his eyes could be seen. Turning around, Ralph warned him, "They don't allow hats in class here." "You're not my mother," said Pete. He doesn't have a very nice expression, does he? After giving an assignment, Mr. Peltzer walked around the class and quietly asked Pete to remove his hat. Once he walked away, Pete poked Ralph. "Thanks a lot," he growled. His teacher looks pretty nice, doesn't he? It must be hard to be the new kid at school. Later that day at recess, Pete didn't ask to join the soccer game. Instead, he watched. "Hi, Pete," Ralph said. "Do you want to get into the game?" "Not with those nerds," Pete replied. "I don't like those kids." "What do you want to do?" asked Ralph. I think Ralph is trying to be friends with Pete. I think Pete needs to be a little bit nicer, doesn't he? Pete smiled spitefully. "Let's steal the ball. We're bigger than them. We can have our own game." "I don't think so," answered Ralph. "That's not how we do things around here." "Then I'll do it myself," taunted Pete. "If you're so afraid." Is that very nice to steal the ball? I don't think so. Pete ran over to the field and yelled, "Pass it to me." When David passed the soccer ball, Pete grabbed it and ran off the field. "What's going on?" shouted David. Pete didn't answer. He ran faster and faster and then turned and waved the ball in the air. At first, the kids just stood there. Then they huddled together before walking over to Pete. Ruby and Lucy led the way. "I know you're new around here, but what are you doing?" asked Ruby. "I'm playing with the soccer ball," Pete snapped. "Think you're gonna take it away from me?" He's not being very nice at all. But Ruby didn't argue, nor did she threaten Pete. Instead, she softly but firmly explained, "It's your first day here, so there is no way you could know this. In Mr. Peltzer's class, we made a promise." "We promised to take care of ourselves, each other, and our classroom, and to solve problems peacefully. We promised that in this class, no one would stand by and accept bad behavior. When someone acts hurtfully, we all speak up. We want you to be a member of the class and to make the same promise." Dumb rules, dumb promises. Throwing the ball on the ground, Pete walked away. I think that's a good promise, to work together all the time and to take care of everyone. Pete's not making good choices, is he? The next day, Pete ate alone. When he finished his lunch, the kids raced out of the lunchroom while Pete trailed behind. Ruby ran up to Pete and asked, "Do you want to play soccer today?" "I don't play with nerds." "Okie dokie," Ruby replied. She's trying to be his friend too, but he's not being very nice. "Hey, Ruby," Pete called after her. Ruby stopped and turned. "Nice shirt," Pete complimented, and then squirted his juice box right at her. "You are so mean," she shrieked at him. "I'll tell everybody how mean you are. You won't have any friends here." By now, Ralph, David, and some others had come up to them. "Ruby, I won't let you do that," Ralph said clearly. "Remember our promise?" "I don't want to remember the promise. Look at what he did." "We'll ignore him forever until he leaves this school and goes back to his old school," Ruby demanded. Ralph walked between Ruby and Pete. We're not going to do this, Ruby. I know you're angry. You can tell Mr. Peltzer if you want, but we're not going to let you treat Pete like this. We won't put up with his bad behavior either. Ruby stomped away, leaving Pete and Ralph behind. No one's ever done that before, Pete said. Why did you stand up for me? I've been in your shoes and I've learned being a bully doesn't work. So Ruby's mad, but Ralph still took up for Pete. So neither one of them were very nice in that situation, were they? And I'm not a bystander, Ralph said. I don't stand by and let mean things happen. Besides, Ruby is my friend and you shouldn't have ruined her shirt. Won't other kids be mad at you for sticking up for me? Pete asked. No way. They all made the same promise. We talked about it for a long time with Mr. Peltzer, and every kid here tries to keep that promise. So they're talking it out, aren't they? So everyone should work together and be kind to each other, shouldn't they? At my old school, I got picked on all the time, Pete said. Everybody just let it happen. And so I started to tease kids before they could be mean to me. That's not a good choice either. Ralph replied, we decided that when somebody tries to be a bully, no one will stand by and let it happen. We speak up, or we ask for help from an adult, but we won't be bystanders for bad behavior. So what Ralph is saying is they aren't going to let someone be mean to another classmate, are they? The bell rang and it was time to go back to class. They hate me. They'll never let me play with them, Pete said. Before Ralph could answer, David, Lucy, and Ruby came toward them. I'm sorry about what I said, Ruby apologized. I can't believe I forgot the reason why we made the promise. If we can remember to stand up for each other, school is a lot more fun. So even Ruby apologized for what she said out of anger after Pete ruined her shirt. Wow, the kids here are way different than at my other school, Pete said. Maybe I'll give this promise thing a try. Great, let's go talk to Mr. Peltzer, said Ruby. Hey, Ruby. Sorry about your shirt, Pete added. Ruby smiled. No worries, I kind of like the look. Everyone laughed as Pete and Ruby led the way to class. So that was the end of the story, but it says the promise was, I will speak up instead of acting as a bystander. I will choose to participate in the activities that don't involve teasing. I forgive others if they make poor choices. I model good behavior. I accept others for their differences. I include others in group situations. I will talk to an adult when there is a problem I cannot manage on my own. And I am powerful in making a difference in my school. By making the promise to stand up against bad behavior, we can put an end to bullying. It says stand up. The end. That was the Juice Box Bully.